She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
I'm Dani Johnson. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. Thanks for joining us. Hey, do you understand the difference between parent and friend? Are you a parent who has foregone your responsibility as a parent and decided to wear the jersey called friend? That you want to be the best friend with your teenager? That you feel like that's a really important role of where you need to be? Or are you of the opinion that you need to be the parent, have healthy boundaries, and that's just the way it is? Like that, you don't think that the parent is supposed to be a friend. Now listen, I've raised 5 kids. Yes, we have 5. They're adults now, 19 to 31, and we have 8 grandchildren, of which 1 is already a teenager. Crazy. And so I've got some opinions about it, but I can't say that I'm 100% right. All I can say is how we built relationships with our kids, and as they are adults now, the kind of relationships that we have even now. I think that parenting is a challenging thing to navigate. It really is. I feel honestly that business was much easier to navigate than actually raising children. And that's why I see that moms and dads make great business people if they have learned the craft of being able to impart leadership into their children, to impart good values into their children, to train up the next generation of leaders, because that's what you're giving birth to, is a future leader. And so I really feel like that if you've raised a family, you easily can build a business and build a very successful one based on the skill sets you had to learn as raising kids. And so I've seen lots of different types of parenting styles. In fact, I wrote a book about it. But one of the things that I see challenging today is that a lot of parents are confused about their role. When am I supposed to be the parent? When am I supposed to be the friend? Or is being a parent also included in being the parent, being a friend? Versus why do you have to abandon parent to become friend? I don't think you have to abandon both of those, either one of those positions. That if you're a parent, then you're not their friend, and if you're their friend, then you're not their parent. That doesn't make sense. Like where in the world did that ever come from? So we've got Kim, who's just now called in from Nebraska, who would like to share her position on parenting versus being a friend, or is it both? Okay, so we got Kim from Nebraska. Hi, Kim. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi. So what's your position on it?
My personal position is I would rather be a parent and raise my child to be able to get through life on their own without having to have me. And then also to not be a butt. There's too many teenagers out there that have no respect for adults because they're not learning it at home. I think parents are trying to be too much of a friend and not enough of teaching adults or teaching them how to be respectful of others.
You know what I think about this, Kim? Now that you say this, I'm so glad you bring this up, because where in the world did the idea of being a friend means no respect?
I'm really not sure.
You know what I'm saying? So
I get where you're coming from, but I guess I see the friendship thing is so much out there, not a respect aspect.
I know. It's like today, friend, the category of friend means that you're my cheerleader. The category of friend means you never, ever, ever correct me, that you never get mad at me. Being a friend means that you're always in my corner, even when I screw up, and you just totally ignore when I screw up. That's how some parents are leading right now. When they've abandoned parenthood, they've decided to become friend, and friend means that I see nothing that ever needs to be directed, trained, guided, none of that stuff. And so this is what I think is so trippy, is that who created this new definition of friend? Because a friend will tell you if you're off track because they love you.
Some of my best friends will turn around and tell me when I did something wrong.
Yeah. And that's why they're your best friend.
Right. And I don't know I'm making a mistake if you don't tell me I am. So if I'm going to continue on making the same mistake, I'm probably pissing off a lot of people, but I don't know it.
Yes.
Nobody's telling me that I'm being whatever.
You know, I know what you wanted to say, Kim. I heard it. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. But it's true because we all have blind spots. And so this whole, I don't know, that's just such a trip to me because there are parents who are abandoning it. And Kim, I have to tell you, I'm so happy that you have chosen to be a parent. And I truly believe that parenthood requires good communication skills. Parenthood requires for us to be able to navigate those tough conversations fearlessly. I think a lot of times that people choose to be the friend instead of the parent because they don't want to be rejected by their kids. And I'm going to tell you, you're looking at a woman right now who had that fear that my kids would hate me. And so the natural tendency that if I'm afraid my kids are going to hate me is that I want to be perceived as being cool, being accepting, right? Instead of being a mom. And that's scary. We've got Lisa from Missouri. Talk about putting those two words together. Hi, Lisa from Missouri. What's your position on this?
Well, I've raised 4. At one time I was raising 6, but I'm currently raising 2 more teenagers. 2 have grown up and gone out into the world. My eldest child, she is now 30, bless her heart. I'm so proud of her, but I tried to be her best friend. I had her young. I wanted to be the cool mom, just like you said, and I just pretty much was her best friend on everything. Super supportive. Okay, well, that's not cool. Yeah, he shouldn't have done that. When I really should have said, this was a really stupid situation you put yourself in, you know, but I just never did that. And I mean, I wanted to, I knew it, but I wanted to be there for her. My mom and I didn't have that kind of relationship, and I think I went overboard with her. But boy, did it come back and kick me in the butt because she turned into a monster for a while. And I'm happy to say she has now turned everything around. She's going to nursing school, and I'm so proud of her. Yeah. But it's taken a long time. Yeah. My son, my next son, I went the complete opposite. Like I was a prison guard with that poor kid, and pretty scary. Wow. Pretty scary. But luckily, you know, he hasn't been on Dr. Phil, and so I feel really, really good about that. And he's graduated. He's out there in the broadcasting world, and I'm really, really proud of that. My next 2, I've kind of met in between. Here, I'm your best friend. Like, if you go out and you're stupid enough to drink, you do not get in a car with someone that has drunk. You do not get in a car if you have drunk. You call me. Yeah. And there'll be no questions asked. Yeah. But I promise you, we're having a discussion in the morning.
That's right.
And you know, that's where I'm at. Yeah. And so far it's working.
Lisa, I am so proud of who you are as a mom.
Thank you.
And I'm really blessed by your humility of recognizing that you were a young mother and your philosophy as a young mom was to be her friend, and that meant in your mind never guiding her to make wise choices. And actually, it wasn't even about being a friend. It was about being a teenage friend instead of being an adult friend, right? And so that will be honest with you. And so here, I just love it. And then you saying about your son, you know, I was a prison guard with my son. It kind of sounds to me like you got better results being the prison guard than you did being the friend. So here's my position on this. I believe that good parenting has great communication skills. I think that great parenting means that you're able to discern what's going on inside of your kid because you're able to communicate. You're able to draw out of them what is going on in their life without judgment. And that we discern. We know when we are supposed to just listen and let them ramble and talk, and when it is appropriate, because not every time is it appropriate for us to go, well, you shouldn't, and you shouldn't, and you should. There are certain times where just simply by asking questions. So what do you think is the right thing to do, Sarah? in this circumstance, what have you learned? It's teaching them not to be a victim of circumstances, but most importantly, teaching them that they are making choices and they get to learn from the results of their choices. And so creating that environment where you're able to draw out of them where they can make their own conclusions. And really what you've set is a foundation of them understanding choices. Everything in life boils down to choices. Everything in life boils down to your will and saying yes or no to something. And no matter what you do, which is what I've had to do with, again, I don't know if you know the story, but my first baby, I was also a young mom, Lisa. And as a young, I was 17 when I got pregnant. It was a terrible, terrible, bad choice that I made. I allowed myself to be influenced by people who I thought had my best interest in mind. Turns out that they had theirs in mind and were very good with tactics of convincing me that this baby that I was so happy to have inside my womb that would love me, that the best thing for her was to be raised by somebody else that was twice my age and already established, and that I was hurting a child by bringing the child into the world. And so my first baby was given up for adoption, which was a horrible, terrible thing that I still to this day am dealing with the consequences of that decision that I made. And she was largely raised by somebody who believed in being a friend and condoned all of her absolute crazy decisions and crazy, wild things. Even as an adult, she has been encouraged to just like do whatever the heck she wants. So my position is that no matter how bad you screw up your life, I'm going to be here. I'm going to love you, and I'm going to love you through it. Life gives us choices. Our choices create the life we want, and whether that's good or bad. And my position is I'm going to love you no matter what you do. I might have to like cover my eyes. I might have to spend a lot of time in prayer because the choices that you're making are making me go, ah! Okay? But I'm still going to love you, but I'm going to draw from you what is the lesson in which you personally have learned from this experience. And so I believe that good parenting has an element of advocacy. And being an advocate means that you love unconditionally, but that doesn't mean that you do not help to guide and draw from your kids. So oftentimes we as parents have the tendency of being that person who does what? Telling our kids what to do, telling our kids how to think. This does not make them trust us. But what does make them trust us is having those good heart-to-heart conversations where they're doing most of the talking, you're asking questions and learning how they're thinking, and maybe even asking some deeper questions about where do you think this ends up? What do you think the result of this might be? What have you seen from the experience of other people? So that they are owning what it is that they're learning versus you being the dictator telling them what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and how they should think. And I'm telling you, friend, this worked for us. I can't say that I was 1,000% of the time perfect in this. I was not. But I promise you that the scripts that I wrote inside of Grooming the Next Generation for Success on how to pull those things out of your kids, the difference between prevention and control and protection and control. How can we prevent certain circumstances? I'll give you one right now. I would say to my preteens, I would say to them even when they're 8 years old, are you going to hate mommy when you turn 13? You know, when they're snuggling up on my lap and I love you, mom, and they're playing with my hair and you know, they're just being so wonderful. And I would say, are you still going to feel this way when you're 13? They go, yeah. What about when you're 14? Yes. What about when you're 16? Why, Mom? Why do you say this? I said, because sometimes kids, when they go through this different part of their life and they begin to want to make their own decisions, all of a sudden the people they've loved their whole lives, they now hate. They now disrespect. And so there's going to come a time where something's going to pinch your heart and prick your heart to where it's going to cause you to want to turn against your parents. It is natural. Everyone goes through these feelings. And when you start to feel those things, I want us to be able to have a conversation about what's going on, because there is an enemy of your soul who comes to steal, kill, and destroy and wants to turn you away from your family. And so it was so awesome because I used those conversations when they reached those points, and some of them like skipped it. They never even went through I hate my parents, and some of them did. And it was like, hey, you remember when we had that talk? And they'd be like, yeah, you're kind of in that moment right now. And I remember my son Cabe just bawling. like bawling. He's like, "Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry." And then we spent 2.5 hours on his bed and him just telling me what he was going through emotionally and mentally and just sharing. And I was just quiet and let him talk and let him talk and let him talk. And so, friend, if you need help in that area and you want to work through the path yourself, and you want to feel confident that the strategies you're using are going to result in a good, solid, healthy relationship without you having to abandon your position as guide, as advocate, as parent, as trainer, as developer of leadership of the next generation, and you want to know how to formulate the words to motivate your kids and not manipulate them, not burden them with pressure, and not burden them with bribes, and not burden them with fear, but instead true respect, how to draw that respect out of them so they can make wise choices and be much wiser than you and I were when we were growing up. Grooming the Next Generation for Success. And by the way, I've had so many adults read this book who have no kids, and why? Because they're like, I need to re-raise myself. My parents missed a lot of things. I want to make sure I fill in all the blanks. Go to DaniJohnson.com and get your copy of this. It's Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This, by the way, a sociology professor, man, when they got a hold of this book, wrote the first review on it saying this is the best parenting book that has ever graced the planet. What a shock. This book is being taught in universities all over the world. Okay, millions of people have benefited from this book, and there's a home study course that goes along with it too. You can say goodbye to that fear that my kid is going to be mad at me, they're going to hate me. You can say goodbye to your insecurities that all parents have when you get a hold of this training materials, and definitely take a look. Check out the home study course that goes with it. It's going to blow your mind. Let your kids listen to the audios and the DVDs of it. Let the whole family go through the workbook. You'll be amazed about how much peace and harmony is going to come, but most importantly, you're going to sleep better at night. I know you're going to sleep better at night. I know you're going to feel like, man, I'm setting my kid off on the right path. And here's above everything else, when they turn 18, you're like, I did my part, and I know I imparted everything I should. Everything about money, about their emotions. I've imparted everything into them spiritually. I know that I've imparted everything about their work life, their attitude about work, their attitude about leadership. And the other thing that you're going to discover inside of this is so powerful. You're going to discover who your kid is, what their personality is, what motivates them, what makes them tick. You're going to discover and uncover the dream that's inside of them and be able to put it on a path and enjoy that path with them. Instead of being stressed out by them and trying to control who they are, you're actually going to pull out of them who they really are and be able to celebrate that and know that, man, you're doing the right thing and you're putting them on the right path. All right, so get your copy of Grooming the Next Generation for Success right now and get a hold of that home study course. If you go to DaniJohnson.com, you can get your copy. And I want to hear from you, okay? In fact, I want you to do what we had a woman in Canada who actually saw the book and the home study course, and she started teaching it, started just pressing play at her church. She changed so many people's lives. It turned out that two of her nieces came who were just struggling, man. They both had a bunch of kids. They were both nursing mothers. They were pulling their hair out, going crazy. And guess what? These two mothers ended up bringing over 1,000 people to our First Steps to Success training seminar because of how much this book changed their marriage, changed their life, brought peace. They ended up paying off all this debt also. I mean, crazy story that came out of it. So I want you to start maybe holding a study together with the moms in your local area. Get a hold of the home study course. Start pressing play. During the summer is a perfect time where we can start making sure to groom the next generation for success instead of making the mistakes that most parents make that you might be making right now and you don't even know it. You don't even know it, that you're programming your kid for failure instead of programming them for fulfillment, satisfaction, and true success in all areas of their life. So get your copy of Grooming the Next Generation for Success right now and start to hold groups. Let's read the book together with some family members or some friends from church, and if you get the home study course, start pressing play and let's hold families accountable to growing the next generation of leaders that will rule and reign the earth. And that's what our charge is, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. All right, so that's it for us. Thanks so much for joining us today. God bless you. Bye-bye.